Hey gang, Rod Egan here, Worldwide TV, sitting here with a great friend, longtime friend, great collector. How long's it been?
Oh,
30
yeah.
plus, very long time. Steve Plaster, passport collection that we're going to be selling here April 25th and 26th. I'm going to talk about a lot of the great cars that you've got, that you're offering for customers to take advantage of here today, and I'd love to chat a little bit about a lot of the other cars that you're not offering for sale, still in the collection, how it all started, you know?
Oh, well, my father was a car guy before me, as you know, and you knew Dad too.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was funny, I can remember Dad saying to me, I'd rather have 5 $10,000 cars than one $50,000 car. Now that was because I had him on a 540K Cab A that I had the deal done at $50,000.
My goodness.
And you know, if we had that car today, it'd be worth 3,
Yeah.
2.5.
Sure, 2.5, 3.5. Yeah.
And but Dad wanted to have a good cross section of cars, and
Right.
we bought a lot of Model A's and a lot of Model T's and a lot of fun cars, you know.
Yeah.
Then at one point when we ran out of space, we went through and we had figured out that if you buy convertibles, they tend to go up further faster.
Sure.
So
Yep.
we sold everything we had that had a top, all the hard tops and whatnot. Did a deal with Dean, sold them to Dean, and he sold them through his next 2 or 3 auctions. And that worked out, and we've been all convertible since then. And then when Dad and I would go to sales, he was always big on the classics, you know, the 30s and early 40s. That was his era.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got into all kinds of different things. I got into Corvettes at one point, had all the Corvette body styles, and then I got into muscle cars, and I had a bunch of those for a while, and I've kind of bounced around, and now in the last, we lost Dad 16 years ago, 08, and since then I've probably bought 1,000 cars, but I've sold 1,200 because we started in, when Dad passed away, we had 300 cars, and I remember we had 78 manufacturers represented in the collection.
I was gonna say, was there not a bit of a focus to try to have one of almost virtually every kind of car built?
I can remember
that.
I can remember thinking how cool it would be to say you had 100. And so I started seeking out and purchasing obscure cars that nobody'd ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing you know, we had over 200 names. But then I got to looking one day, and I had a bunch of stuff nobody wanted.
Stuff.
Really, I mean.
Neat stuff, but stuff.
It was a different manufacturer, and that's the whole reason I bought it.
Yeah.
But, so we sold all those 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I have finally come full circle, and I met Harry Yagi and John Grondike is a good friend.
Love John, great man.
Guys that they may not have 500 cars, but the cars they have will be the best of the best.
They're
all
wow cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, gee, that makes so much sense. And we started doing that. And I've fortunately been in an economic climate where we could afford to invest money in them, and I think it's been a good investment.
Mm-hmm.
But my CFO calls the cars our non-cash flow producing assets. And I've tried to explain to him, you just have to be willing to take your enjoyment, take your interest in enjoyment.
Correct.
And I drive the cars. I drive every one of these cars.
Yeah, that's a big factor too. And that, I see that now in the market, more and more people are using their cars.
Oh, it's what they were made for.
Amen.
It's good for them.
Preaching to the choir. I have a rule for me personally, any cars I buy, I drive. And if I'm not going to drive it, I'm either not going to buy it, or I'm not going to, if I have it and I don't drive it, I'm not going to keep it. Like that's it's so much better for the cars, right? I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Big difference. And there's no excuse anymore, really, because there's so many great events all over the place.
I drove that L29 from here to Palm Beach, so 60 miles.
Yeah.
For a car show.
Yeah.
Recently, and drove it back.
Well, back in 29 and 30, and in the days of the L29, you had to drive miles because you were always far from somewhere. And probably not on great roads. And they all seemed to do just fine, didn't they, these cars?
They did fine.
Yeah.
And they do fine.
Yeah, they do.
I had that car up to 75 miles an hour coming home, or coming down I-95.
Yeah.
Kid pulled up next to me and was
Wondering what
showing
the hell
off in his new car. And when he gassed it, I gassed it, and I just stayed with him. And you could see he was looking over and looking. He didn't know what was going on.
No, I like that. I like that you drive your stuff, which means the cars you're offering, guys, you're going to be able to jump in for the better part and drive.
That's generally correct.
Right?
I've got one old guy that does nothing but start cars.
Yeah.
And he goes one car to the next and just starts them, runs them. You got to run them long enough to get them up to temperature.
Yes.
So you don't rust out the exhaust systems and stuff.
Yep.
And he does that all day, every day. That's all he does.
And I like the road you've got on your property too, that you can, the exercise track.
Yeah.
Right, for the cars. I think that's a great idea. And obviously that road is a great investment, because when your cars run well, they keep their value. And you know what it's like. Stuff sits and it tinkers, and then gaskets and little things, so.
Yeah, and I like to say that's what contributes to my long life too. I mean, it makes me feel good to drive them.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
In any given summer when the weather's good, I obviously won't drive them if it's inclement, but I'll drive 50 or 60 cars a year.
Yeah.
It's 10 miles to my office and 10 miles back.
That's
and
perfect.
that 20 miles is just, and occasionally want to come home on the rollback, but
sure.
But
well, I mean, that happens. You can get a car fresh out of restoration and something can still break.
Right.
I mean, that's the life of things that's mechanical, right? Like that's not a surprise at all, for sure. So I noticed over the course of time, you talked about your dad. I'd rather have $5,000-$10,000 cars than a $50,000 car. And for some point, you kind of were similar, but you've definitely in the last 10 years made a point to, which is probably what's driven to sell off some stuff, is that, more is not necessarily better. And you do have some great big boy cars.
I started selling cars. There was a point we were over 600. And I figured out that you spend 90% of your time working on the 10% least valuable cars. and so that's when I got rid of some of those oddball manufacturers and started selling off the inexpensive cars, the cars that didn't have the good investment quality.
Sure. And
so I was buying better cars. Again, my CFO, who calls these our non-cash flow producing assets, he would get all excited because we would go to a sale and I'd sell 20 or 30 cars, and I'd take that money and a little more and buy one. But I was buying 540K Mercedes and Duesenbergs and top end stuff. And well, now, and it's been 15 years later, now I've got a collection full of, I love pickup trucks. So I've got some old pickup trucks, and I've got my mother's last car and my grandmother's last car, and I've got those family cars that will never be of any value to anybody but me.
Mm-hmm.
My first car was a 47 Willys Jeep. I always say that's the only one I won't sell, but it's still there. But so we've got some of those cars.
Well, I think collection. You should. I don't know that that's really uncommon for a lot of guys.
Exactly.
Right? As you collect, your tastes change, but the things that matter, and that doesn't ever change, right?
That's right.
The reasons things matter change, and that's different for every collector and every guy. But I know I've been through your place several times, and I love hearing all the stories about, well, that car was Dad's, and this was here, and this is what he showed up here in town, right? And then the whole thing started, right? And that's why you're here today, and you're able to do what you're doing because of the foresight of your dad. Starting
a lot of hard
good
work.
Business, a lot of hard work, and then you taking over and bigger, stronger. I mean, that's
life is good.
Life is good. Yeah, life is good, without a doubt. Anytime you can sit around and play cars, life's very good. Hey, Sonny.
I was telling somebody just the other day that a few years ago when I was selling off cars, I was literally selling off the low end.
Yeah.
Selling off the oddballs, selling off stuff that I didn't think was collectible. But you look at the list, you look at the pictures, you look at your own catalog.
Yeah.
And what you'll see is there's a lot of cars there that I get to looking at the list and I think, why did I put that on there? I don't want to sell this car. There's some great cars on there.
Well, there's a ton of great cars, and you and I have gone back and forth for years on what your list could, should, might not, right? And you have to sell some good cars if you still want to make the space, right? So how many cars have you got now?
447, I think.
447, right? Which is still more than you're wanting to have.
I'm shooting for 300. It's so hard to get the high quality people to take care of them. Of course, we're doing full restorations, and we've done award-winning restorations. So I got good, capable guys, and it's been wonderful to do that. It's been very expensive to do that. And again, we're spending 90% of our time working on the 10% least valuable cars.
I was just going to say, yeah. And once you've gotten those cars are gone. Now you've got some really good cars, but because you have too many, fortunately for some car collectors, we're going to be able to offer them here pretty quick. They'll find some great homes, phenomenal cars, and you still get down to your deal because taking care of that many cars is a multi-person, all-day, everyday deal. And if you can get that down, it's amazing. 300 cars still sounds nuts to a lot of people.
Right? It is.
And it probably,
nobody in their right mind would do that.
It probably is, right? But to go from 450 to 300, I think your guys are going to be, first off, they're going to be thankful. But they're going to be able to do a better job on that amount of cars than they ever could, which has got to be good. And I know we've talked about this before. Long after we're gone, somebody else is going to have these cars and take care of them. So if the mission is to take care of these cars so that other generations and collectors can enjoy them the way we do, I think you're doing the right thing.
It is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
If something happens to me, I've got cars that if you don't know the backstory, if you don't know the history, they're not worth as much as if you did, of course.
Correct.
And having somebody there that knows them and understands them is important.
Correct.
And, of course, Michael, my son, is now taking. He's always loved driving them and playing with them and going to the shows.
Yeah.
But he's now started buying some on his own. He owns half a dozen old cars, and he's learning how to play the game.
Right.
And having fun with it.
Which are the right cars? Which ones they have fun to drive?
Buying cars that mean something to him.
Right.
Not just investment quality, but In fact, he hadn't
Right.
hit the real investment quality stuff, but
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
he bought a 71 Chevelle that I bought when he was 8. Okay,
And he bought it off you.
and he bought it for me.
Yeah.
Now, that's been his car for years. When he was little, he needed a car that when we went to the shows, he could say, "This is his car."
Yeah.
Well, that's been his car.
Now he
Got
can
a
write
mural
a check
of
and
it
it
on
really
his
is.
bedroom wall.
Oh, cool. Very good.
So,
Well, that's the thing I like too. You know, I go to collections all across the country, and even, you know, to some degree all across the world. And you hit it on the head. You said, you know, if somebody doesn't know the backstory, there's going to be some cars that aren't that important. But, you know, you told me about overpaying probably for a car not too long ago that was represented exactly like one of your dad's cars, right? And it was like you wanted to have that.
Yep.
That particular car is worth more to you that day than it was to several other guys because it didn't have that same significance, right? So,
well, all my life I heard Dad say, he came to Lebanon, Missouri in 1957. He had a brand new Mercury and $200 in the bank. That's all he had to his name. And he went in the propane business, and the rest is history, so they say. But I've watched for a lot of years for the right,
that color combination.
yeah, that 56 Mercury. And to hear him and Mom always said she didn't like it because it was pink. And he said it wasn't pink, it was salmon.
Get it right.
And I looked for the longest time, and I find one that Michael Leith had.
Yeah.
And it had been in Michael's collection for a number of years, so I knew it was
Well, that's
probably
good.
a good one.
Mike's got great cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guy.
And-
Another good collector.
And it was the right color, and it was a 2-door hardtop. And did I pay too much? Dean used to say, you know, never pay too much, only to pay too early.
Right. That's
Pay
right.
too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm probably guilty of both.
Sure.
I try to buy high quality cars. If you buy good quality cars, I always tell people my one bit of advice is buy the best you can afford. That if you buy a good one, you'll generally be able to get your money back. You'll enjoy having it, and life will be good to you.
I've heard it said a couple of times, but I remember when I was first in this business, I was probably 20 or 21, and I had owned a couple cars at that time of my own, collector cars. You know, in high school I had a 67 Firebird convertible. I used to drive old cars to high school all the time. Went to a high school where, you know, I got bussed in from our neighborhood to a much more affluent neighborhood, and a lot of those kids were all driving new cars at the time, you know, and they're looking at me like, why would you drive that old clunker, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, and that's just what I loved, still do. And it's amazing to see how that traction hits, and you just end up getting all the stuff you like, and you know.
Funny how those things change. When I was a kid, Dad bought a farm and moved the family out to the farm. And first thing you know, we were doing cattle and horses and all kinds
Yep.
of livestock and things. And Dad went and bought a 4-wheel drive pickup truck. Well, everybody in the world laughed at him because he had a 4-wheel drive pickup truck. Who ever heard of such a thing? If you need to go in the snow, you just take your tractor, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody had a pickup truck, but nobody
Had a 4-wheel drive.
if you needed a 4-wheel drive, you bought a Jeep or something. And of course, and I'm the guy that when I was in high school, I drove a Blazer up till my senior year. And Blazer was great because I could go anywhere I needed to go and do what I needed to do. But nobody else, I mean, there was an occasional kid that drove the farm truck to school, but nobody had 4x4s or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And I used to try to buy good stuff all the time, you know, didn't have any money, so you can't always buy the best stuff. But I bought a car, I remember, you know, you talk about buying good cars. I bought a car that wasn't that good because the price was right.
Uh-huh.
And my dad said, well, why did you, it's not a great car, why did you buy that car? And I said, well, Dad, it's because I can't really afford a really good one. And he said, well, son, I'm going to help you with this, but I think you're going to learn that you sure as hell can't afford to buy a bad one. And I didn't know what that meant. But every car guy knows exactly what that means, right? So,
And you'll still get burnt on occasion.
yeah.
Because, you don't know. I drove that car to Palm Beach the other day.
Yeah.
Now, I might get in it tomorrow and drive it down the block and blow the engine. You
Right.
just
You
don't know
You don't.
about old cars or new cars. They're going to break. I mean,
They
that's
are.
the number one rule about old cars. They're going to break. But
Well, and car people know that. If you're buying an old car, you're going to spend some money to tweak it, fix it, do whatever you need to do anyway, right? But
and that's it. And we do that.
yeah,
And we do the things to promote the longevity. We drive them. We move them. We work with them, and we love on them.
oh, I know you do. I know. Like, you keep looking at the list and saying, I should keep this, I should have kept this. And, people are going to get some really great cars in your collection. And one of the things I like about what we've set up and your offering is we've got a really wide range of stuff.
Did that on purpose. That was
Right.
your suggestion, and I followed
Correct.
through on it.
Yeah, I think that's important to have an offering that covers a lot of varied
There's
tastes.
something there for everybody.
Yeah,
A couple Ferraris,
80s, yeah.
sports cars, a couple Corvettes, right?
Yeah, no, it really is a good mix, I would say. And, we've had a whole bunch of the cars at our place already. And all our guys, Evan knows, they film the stuff coming off your passport trucks, passport transport. That's why we called it the Passport Collection. It's been great. And even our staff loves the mix. You know what I mean? Of all the different stuff. It's like, all right, what are we going to go film today? Let's go drive this. Let's go drive, All right, well, I'll take a Maserati. All right, well, I want to take a Packard. Okay, let's take a Packard. It's all over and it's great, right?
Yeah.
So I know for us as an auction company, we're, first and foremost thankful that you put your trust in us to do it. I know we got a relationship that goes back a very long ways, but I know it's good when even my staff is excited about the stuff. You know what I mean? It's not just a work day. And I talk to them all the time about how great and how fun some of the cars are. And I mean, our guys are all excited. Oh, Passport's showing up with another load. Let's go see what it is, right? And the big door kicks open and the truck comes in and, all our guys are there and like, oh, okay, I'll take this one and move it over here. And okay, this one goes get detailed. And all right, and they're all, it's great. It's like Christmas every day when the Passport trucks show up, right?
It has been a labor of love, Rod. You've seen that over the years.
Yeah,
Every one of these cars has been loved on.
correct.
And if I knew a way to make them better, I'd have done it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, great group that people are going to be able to enjoy. You drive them, I drive them. I would encourage anybody else that's buying these cars to drive them, whether you're buying one car to put in your garage and it's your first car, or if it's a father-son conglomeration, or if it's, hey, I've always wanted this car or that car. There's going to be great cars for everybody. And as a buyer, even if you can't get to the auction, if you call me and say, hey, Rod, tell me about this car, our staff can tell you exactly what that car is. And you can buy it without ever
They've really
seeing
been good
it.
about that.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll do that. We'll walk around, we'll do FaceTime videos for people that, if you're gonna bid on the telephone, or you can even bid, online in your computer, and our car specialists will walk you through every single car, as because our whole deal is, if you buy a car without seeing it, when it shows up at your place, if you're surprised, it might even be a little better than we said it was. Certainly not the opposite, right? And we have a great reputation for doing that, to make sure that people get exactly what they want. So I'm excited to do this collection and this group for you, the Passport Collection, because the cars are so great, because they're so varied, and because I know in my heart that a lot of people are really, really going to enjoy those cars, just like you did.
I believe that they will. And hey guys, if you don't, call me. I'll talk to you about buying them back.
There could be a story there.
I really hate to see some of these cars go.
I know. That's the beauty of the sickness we have in this business, isn't it? That it's not uncommon.
This is like
not uncommon to see guys.
I have equated to this to putting one of your kids up for adoption.
Right.
I mean, you're not killing them. They're not going away forever.
Right.
You know where they're going.
Right.
But gosh, you hate to see them go sometimes.
Gosh, you hate to see them go. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm super excited. As I said, I'm glad you chose us to do it, and we're going to do a great job for you. I think you know that.
I think so.
We will. Passport Collection, April 25th and 26th in Auburn, Indiana. My good friend Steve Plaster's here. I'm sure at sale day, if you're around, he can tell you all about those cars too if you're interested. In the meantime, stay tuned with us, worldwideauctioneers.com. See you soon.
Passport will be around to help you get them home.